What's going on, guys? It's UrAvgConsumer, and Apple just finished their WWDC 2023 and all of their announcements, and there's a lot to unpack here. So we got a lot of cool hardware, a 15-inch MacBook Air, which I'm really excited about, and Mac Studio with the M2 Max and M2 Ultra, very powerful chips, as well as, and finally, the Mac Pro with M2 Ultra. Apple Silicon is finally making its way to the Mac Pro, and you know Apple blew our minds with the announcement of the Vision Pro. But we're gonna talk about that hardware a little bit later. Now, WWDC is where we talk about a lot of software, and I just wanna talk about some of the things that we're gonna be seeing on our devices, even if you don't pick up a new one. All right, guys, so we're gonna start off with the big boy iOS 17 for all you iPhone users out there. And one of the very first things that they mentioned was contact posters. So now you can create your own contact poster where you throw up an image that you want people to see when you're giving them a call. If you're familiar with customizing your lock screen, it's a very similar approach. What's nice about this is you can completely curate your contact card when you call someone, so you don't have to worry about them having a bad picture of you or something. You can pick the best looking one you've got.
Me choosing the picture?
Yeah, you get to pick the picture. It's similar to, you know, in messages when it says you can update your contact information and the picture that people get when you're messaging them. It's similar to that, but on a grander scale. Now, what's cool about this contact poster is that you'll see in other areas that they've updated, like with AirDrop. So now, instead of exchanging contact information with someone the old-fashioned way, where you pass them your phone or you dictate and they type it out into the contact information, now you can just take your phone, tap it with another, and that contact card is going to be airdropped over to them, and that's how it'll get saved. You'll also be able to do that same contact card swap with the Apple Watch. So you can take your iPhone, put it to an Apple Watch, and also share information like that. Now, I think we all love AirDrop, but Apple addressed a couple of things that I think are gonna make a really big difference. Now you can walk away from somebody who you're airdropping with, and it'll actually connect over the internet to finish sending off whatever file it may be, whether it's a lot of photos or maybe one really large one. You can now step away and still send that thing over, which is going to be huge. Now, we also have the ability to share play by just getting those phones close to each other. So if you want to send something off to someone nearby, I just think the way we overall use AirDrop is going to just get a lot better. So I'm like really excited for that. Now, AirDrop is huge, but we're seeing a really nice update to voicemails. Who would have thought, but they came out with a really cool feature where you can now see a live transcription of someone leaving a voicemail. If it's a phone number you don't recognize, or maybe you're in a meeting, you might not want to pick up a call, but the person can now leave a voice message so you can see whether or not you need to address it right away. And that's also nice because if you were waiting for an important call but you don't recognize the number, you don't have to wait till after they leave the message and hang up and try to call them back and not get them. You don't have to play that phone tag. You can pick up right away as you see them leaving that important message.
Attention number, you can't just dial back.
Exactly, yeah, you're right. There's also a couple of cool things that we see coming to messages, like being able to catch up with a thread. So it'll take you to the last point you guys left off, or you left off when you were in that thread. I think that's going to be huge because I've come back to some family group chats that were just going and going. I gotta keep scrolling, press one button and it'll take you right to the top. That's gonna be clutch. There's also a new kind of interface for adding photos or interacting with the messages, whether that's stickers. There's gonna be a nice little spot on the left, that a little plus sign that you can hit, and it'll pop up with this new menu where you can select the things that you want and even the applications that you have in iMessage. I think that's going to be a really nice change. I'm not a fan of the way it currently looks with that bar of icons above your keyboard. I think this is going to be a lot better and easier for adding things to your messages. There's also this cool thing called intelligent input, where it'll now basically start to learn some of your mannerisms, your words, phrases that you like to use. So it'll autocorrect more intelligently. One that I think a lot of people will enjoy is we'll get rid of that ducking word that usually replaces some of what we try to talk about, that colorful language there. That finally will be able to be added. And it did a lot of updates to like stickers for those of you who use them. Honestly, I'm not a big sticker user myself, but there was one feature that kind of caught my attention, and that's the live, what is it, like a live photos motion that you can add to it that also removes the background. They showed Craig with a basketball doing some crazy stuff. I think that could have some potential, but I don't know. Jay, you a sticker user?
I'm more like an emoji user.
Yeah, I mean, we all can use some emojis, but stickers, That's like next level, and they really added a lot of features for those of you who do like it. And there's also going to be like this cool journaling app for those of us who really enjoy journaling. I hear it does wonders for a lot of people to just download and decompress and get their thoughts out. If you're big into journaling, Apple's gonna have a dedicated app for that now where you can add photos. It'll even make suggestions like, hey, you should go ahead and journal right now at the end of your day. It'll learn your habits and all that good stuff. So that's also gonna be there for those folks. Now there's also this new feature called Standby. And if you're familiar with the Apple Watch, when you're charging this thing on like a base and you've got it sideways, you know how it turns into a clock at night? Basically, that feature's coming to the iPhone. And this is a pretty cool feature if you happen to use like a MagSafe charger and you've got it, just sideways. You can now use it as like your own digital clock. And you can actually add quite a few things to it. There's gonna be widget support. There's different home screens, photos. There's gonna be all kinds of things that you can have there. If you're big on just having your phone be your, nightstand alarm clock / digital clock thing, there's going to be a lot of options and customization for those folks out there who want it. Now, there's also going to be this cool feature called check-in, where basically if there's an important person that you want to know where you are, or when you complete certain things like maybe a jog or when you get home from work, you're now going to be able to check in and let them know you're safe. Or if you're running behind and you want to let them know that, hey, I'm a little bit delayed, it'll suggest that you let them know that you're delayed. It's a pretty cool feature for those of the folks out there who really like to monitor their family's locations. So that option is going to be there. It's going to be a little bit easier than having to track somebody's location all the time if you do that kind of thing. So now we got to talk about iPadOS. Now, a lot of the features that we saw with iOS, of course, will make their way over, like with the Messages app and that kind of thing. But there are going to be some cool new ones. So first, of course, is going to be that new lock screen. So similar to the way we saw iOS get that updated lock screen, we're going to be seeing that finally come over to the iPadOS. And they showed some like really cool, nice looking iPad lock screens. And they're also gonna have the ability to have widgets on the side, as well as some that give you access to quick actions. Now, that's really cool with the iPad because you got a bigger screen. You can throw quite a bit more up there right on the lock screen. So I'm excited to play around with that one. And while we're on the topic of widgets, now you're gonna be able to interact with the widgets on your home screen. So some widgets have like a lot of little buttons, but when you tap them, it takes you into the app. Now you can just interact with those right on the home screen. Don't have to jump into the app. I'm a big fan of widgets, so making them any better is always gonna be a good thing for me. And we're also going to be seeing live activities. Now, Jay and I, we just been talking about how great live activities are, being able to see how far your Uber is without having to actually jump into the application, or maybe seeing when a delivery is on its way. There's gonna be a lot of cool things that we're gonna be able to see with live activities, sports, score updates, and you don't have to jump into the app. I think anything that allows you to multitask while still keeping an eye on the status of certain things is gonna be a huge bonus, and now we're seeing that on iPad. Now, I'm not sure how many people really dive into the health app, but iPad is getting a dedicated health app where you can see a ton more information right from the bigger screen. So if you're a big health user, maybe you're someone who uses your Apple Watch Fitness and you take that very seriously, or someone who tries to track their medication, all that stuff, right through the app, you're gonna be able to see a lot more happening right through this new health app. Now, next up, we gotta talk about macOS. So macOS has got a few different updates. Of course, its new name is gonna be macOS Sonoma. So some of the big changes we're gonna be seeing here, new screensaver updates. So now we're gonna get some of those nice, cool aerial shots, really good looking cinematic screensavers, which remind me of the Apple TV. Apple TV has some amazing screensavers. I just kind of like leaving the Apple TV on sometimes and just having that play in the background. We're gonna be seeing stuff like that coming to macOS, so I'm all for that, especially if you've got an iMac or one of those bigger XDR displays. That's gonna look really clean. Now, they added this feature called Presenter Overlay, so if you happen to be on a FaceTime call, maybe a Zoom call, and you wanna add certain effects to your background, you can have these fireworks going off if something really positive happens, and that kind of works with even gestures. So I think they showed having 2 thumbs up made the background explode. So it was kind of wild. So there's gonna be those cool features if you wanna add a little pizzazz to your video chat conversation. But they also added some more functionality, more serious functionality. If you wanna share your screen and you still wanna be present in the screen, you can now have a PowerPoint presentation or a keynote presentation open and you can interact with it or kind of have it playing in the background, kind of like a weatherman. You know how the weatherman has like that green screen and they're like, it's gonna be really cold in Colorado. You can kind of do something similar to that now. Safari had some cool updates with different profiles. So now you can switch between your work profile and your personal profile. Let's say you wanna just keep your personal stuff separate. You can go ahead and have that distinction, which I think is gonna be pretty cool. Nobody wants to have their personal stuff open when you're, maybe taking your laptop to work and you gotta show something in one of your tabs to a coworker. So now you can have that profile that kind of separates the two. And you can even create like these web apps. So if you want to jump into, I think they showed like Pinterest, you want to jump into Pinterest without having to actually, go to the Pinterest website, you can actually save it as a web app. And what's cool is that it should work with any websites that already exist. There's nothing needed on the developer end. So if there are certain websites that you really like to frequent and you want to just have quick access to them, instead of even having a bookmark, now you can have them as these web apps. Now, Apple announced that they're gonna have like dedicated game modes, which prioritizes the game for the CPU and GPU. And they're trying to bring big time titles. They brought over Death Stranding over to the macOS. Hopefully this is the start of seeing really big titles come over to macOS, and maybe gaming on a Mac can build some more traction. And of course, we're seeing some more widget action happen over here, which I'm actually super pumped about. Just said I'm a huge fan of widgets. And now we're gonna be seeing those widgets, instead of being in that notification center, they're gonna be able to come over right on the desktop. And I think that's gonna be really cool because you can have like your files on your desktop, widgets on your desktop, interact with all of them in one place. And you can always just keep an eye on things, which I think is gonna be really great. But if you're someone who might be a little bit distracted by, I don't know, having a bunch of widgets on your desktop, not to worry. When you open up an application, you can kind of have it fade into the background so it doesn't take up too much of your attention, but it's still visible if you want that information still. And they're like pretty much transparent, so if you change your wallpapers, it's still gonna look good on your screen. I'm all here for the widgets. Widget all the things. I guess they already did. iOS, iPadOS, macOS, and WatchOS. That takes me to WatchOS. Now, WatchOS has some pretty cool stuff going for it. I think they updated some of the workouts. If you're a workout person and you use your Apple Watch, they're gonna have some nice cool upgrades, especially if you're a cyclist. But they added those widgets, like we said. Now you can use the digital crown to reveal widgets. I think that's gonna be really cool because now you have access to just like a plain watch face. Me, currently, I have one with a ton of complications on here, so that I can get access to all my information just at a glance. But now, if I wanna maybe have a watch face with just my kids on it, I can have that, just do a quick swipe up, and I'll get access to widgets so I can see the information that I probably typically have on those complications. So that's gonna be nice for those folks who want access to a lot of information, but still wanna see like photos of their family. So there's gonna be new watch faces, lots of new redesigned things happening with WatchOS, not crazy major updates like we saw with iOS or maybe even macOS, but some nice updates nonetheless. Now, there are a couple of other areas where we're gonna see some pretty cool updates as well. AirPods are gonna get updated to use this new adaptive sound mode, which kind of blends active noise cancellation with transparency mode. So in this mode, it should intelligently decide when to let certain sounds in and out. I'm really curious about how that's going to work. It's gonna require quite a bit of testing, but AirPods are gonna be getting this update. So it's gonna work like if somebody comes up to you and starts speaking to you, it should be able to go into transparency mode, or if you start talking to someone, it'll drop the volume in your music down so you can start speaking to someone and keep the transparency mode open. And when they're gone, maybe let's say there's like construction going on, active noise cancellation kicks in. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how it actually performs, but if it works the way they described it, might be the new mode to stay in. tvOS, getting some love too. Now you can actually use your iPhone with that continuity camera, so you can have FaceTime or Zoom meetings right on your TV. Now for hardware, we saw a lot of nice updates. One of the biggest ones is going to be the new 15-inch MacBook Air. Now, the MacBook Air is a favorite of mine. That slim profile is awesome, but sometimes you crave that larger display, and now Apple is answering the call. They've made a 15-inch MacBook Air, and I think that's something we've been waiting for quite some time. It's going to have that fanless design with the M2 processor, which makes it an extremely capable laptop. And it comes in at 3.3 pounds. That's really light for a laptop of that size. Still got that slim form factor with 2 Thunderbolt ports, headphone jack, and of course that MagSafe charging port on the left side. And we're getting 18 hours of battery life on this beast. If you know Apple Silicon, you know that they're great at battery life, and on a bigger laptop, you can expect this kind of performance. It's one of the only claims that I'll believe when it comes to battery life with laptops, because Apple's really doing it. Now, I did get a chance to see the MacBook Air, and surprisingly enough, I didn't see any speaker grills. 6 speakers, no speaker grills. I'm interested in seeing what that sounds like. But of course, it'll come in the 4 colors. Midnight is that nice blue one. You also get space gray, starlight, that like champagne goldish kind of color, and silver. And it's gonna be coming in at $12.99, which is a fair price for a big laptop at this size. And it being an Air, it's still on the cheaper side of things. You're not going into that MacBook Pro territory in terms of pricing, so it's not bad. Now, we also saw some updates to the Mac Studio, and now we're gonna be seeing that come with the M2 Max and even the M2 Ultra. Supports up to 192 gigs of memory. We're also going to be seeing a new HDMI port, which supports up to 8K and 240 hertz refresh rate. So lots of things that we wanted to see with the previous version in terms of the HDMI, but we're seeing them here now. It has all the updates on a professional level that we've been looking for. Now let's talk about the Mac Pro, and this is probably the most niche product here, but for on the professional side of things, we're finally seeing Apple Silicon come to the Mac Pro, which is going to be great because of the power difference, because we're seeing all of them come with the M2 Ultra now. So that's going to be standard. Apple's most powerful chip is now the standard in the Mac Pro. Now what's crazy is the Mac Pro has 8 Thunderbolt ports, 6 in the back, 2 up top, and it supports up to 6 Thunderbolt displays, which is just mind-blowing stuff. We gotta get our hands on one, Jay.
And that price tag.
Yeah, like about $7,000 man, starting price. So it's a huge price jump, but if you're somebody who can benefit from those extra PCIe slots, well, we added storage to ours, we added those afterburner cards. There's gonna be a lot of expansion that we can do with that. So maybe the main rig, Jay. But yeah, it's something we've all been waiting for. Apple Silicon is now on the Mac Pro, opens the door for a lot more power. And of course, the Vision Pro. So Apple kind of blew our minds with this completely new device. And it's gonna be something that's going to take a lot more time to talk about. So we're gonna do that in another video. If you guys are interested, we're gonna have that coming as well. But my initial thoughts is that it's gonna be an interesting product. I don't know how many people are going to find it useful, but there's a lot that you can do with it and a lot of technology there that I don't think we really expected to be there. So if you guys are interested in learning more about it, definitely check out the other video. Subscribe to the channel for future updates, because we're gonna be getting our hands on this stuff. That thing though is coming next year. $3,500, a lot of money, a lot of tech. But what do you guys think of the Vision Pro or all of the announcements that Apple made today? Let me know with a comment down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed because we're gonna be covering all of it. Till then, it's your average consumer. Peace. Jay, we gotta make some live stickers, man. I don't know what we're gonna do. The robot, yeah, both of us, man. I need you to respond with stickers.